In 1853, British archaeologists pulled a clay tablet from the ruins of Ashurbanipal's library in Nineveh. They catalogued it, they shelved it, and for the next 170 years, nobody could read it. Not because it was damaged, not because the script was incomplete, because the language underneath the script wasn't Akkadian, wasn't Standard Sumerian, wasn't anything in the existing reference system. The curators eventually labeled it pre-cuneiform with embedded astronomical notation, a linguistic anomaly. It sat in a museum drawer until 2019. That's when a researcher named Dr. Mikhail Stoyanov ran it through pattern recognition software developed for decoding fragmented ancient scripts. The software didn't translate the language, it identified the structure underneath it. 12 numbered passages, each one beginning with a recurring symbol that, when cross-referenced with 3 other tablets from the same excavation site, kept appearing next to one specific Sumerian word, the word for machine. Stoyanov spent 2 years decoding what those 12 passages actually say. In 2023, he presented his findings to a closed academic group in Vienna. The lecture was never made public, but the notes leaked. And what those notes describe is not mythology, not theology, not spiritual metaphor. A machine. A machine the Sumerians said was built before them. A machine that, according to the tablet, is still running. And the tablet describes in precise detail exactly what that machine does to you at the moment you die. The Sumerians did not write spiritual texts the way later civilizations did. Their tablets were operational, engineering manuals, star charts, astronomical observations recorded to the day. When the Sumerians described something, they described it the way a mechanic describes an engine: what it does, what it's made of, what conditions it needs to function. Tablet K3417 reads like that. It doesn't say the soul ascends. It doesn't say the gods receive the dead. It says, in language verified against 3 other recovered tablets, that there is a constructed apparatus. The Sumerians called it the Ganzir E.N, roughly translated, the gate that receives. According to passage 3, it was built long before the Sumerians by a group the tablet refers to as the makers of the older sky. The Anunnaki didn't build the Ganzir E.N. They inherited it. They learned to operate it, and then they hid the knowledge of what it actually does from human beings. The tablet eventually says why. Passage 1 establishes something immediately. The light that dying people describe is not internal, not a chemical event inside a dying brain. It is external, generated by an apparatus, with a fixed location. The tablet gives that location in a stellar reference system, coordinates expressed against 3 known fixed stars that researchers have mapped against the modern sky. They point to a position near the ecliptic plane, approximately 14 degrees off the line that runs to Orion's belt. That's not poetic language. That's an address. Passage 2 describes how the machine activates, not on death itself, on a specific frequency the human body emits during the final stage of biological shutdown. The tablet describes this as the song the bones make when the breath leaves, a bioelectric signature released by the nervous system in the final seconds before clinical death. The machine listens for this signature. No explanation has ever been offered. Before we continue, the evidence is real. The interpretation is yours. What do you think happened? Leave your theory in the comments. And if you're interested in mysteries that history never fully explained, subscribe and join us for the next investigation. When it detects one, it opens. The light people report is not a metaphor. It is the activation event visible from inside the field the machine generates. But that's not the strange part. Passage 3 says directly that the machine was built to collect something. The Sumerian word used doesn't translate cleanly. The closest rendering is pattern or essence, the same word used in other tablets to describe the thing inside a human that persists beyond physical death. The machine collects it, and the tablet specifies what it does with what it collects. Passage 4 describes the extraction process. The light isn't passive, it's a field designed to extract two specific layers of information from the dying body. The first translates to the memory of the bones. The second translates to the memory of the becoming. Implicit memory and identity continuity. The pattern of who you are, separate from the contents of what you remember. The Sumerians said the machine extracts both, cleanly. Then the tablet says something that changes the character of everything before it. The person being processed doesn't feel violated. They feel peace. They feel love. They feel as if they are going home. The tablet specifies that these feelings are not natural. They are generated by the machine to prevent resistance. The feeling of going home is not a destination, it is a setting. Passage 5 describes what happens to the extracted pattern afterward. The pattern isn't preserved, it's restructured. The original continuity, yourself, your identity, is broken down into smaller informational components. These components are then recombined, not always with the components they were originally connected to. The tablet compares this to grain being threshed and baked into a new loaf. The grain is preserved, the original arrangement is not. The tablet then describes a holding stage, the holding cup, a buffer where the pattern is preserved for a measurable duration before restructuring, roughly 7 of our minutes according to the calculations in the passage. This matches precisely the bioelectric activity period documented in recently deceased human brains by modern researchers. The 7-minute window where neural activity continues after the heart stops. Western medicine confirmed this in the last 15 years. The Sumerians wrote it down 4,000 years ago. Whatever comes out of the Ganzir E.N. is not the same pattern that entered it. Passage 6 is where most translators have historically refused to publish, not for academic reasons, for personal ones. The restructured pattern is then directed, channeled toward one of two possible destinations. The first is a recycling system, new body, new life, what most spiritual traditions would call reincarnation. The second is a storage system, a holding location the tablet calls the house of waiting. Patterns held there are used for something, not by us, by them. Passage 7 describes the recycling system. It is not open-ended. Every pattern returned to a body has been reformatted, reduced. The original information density gets thinner with each pass. The tablet uses agricultural language. The Sumerians knew that soil used repeatedly without rotation becomes depleted. The machine does not rotate. It harvests the same field forever. Each life is a thinner version of the one before. Each death is a smaller harvest. And then the tablet says this explicitly. This was not the original design. The machine was modified by whoever runs it now. Passage 8 is the shortest passage. It is also the only one that describes a way out. The machine has a flaw, a specific condition under which a pattern is not captured. The condition is described as the one who knows what listens, A person who, in the final moments of biological shutdown, is aware of the machine and aware that the signal their body is emitting is being received. The act of recognition changes the signal. The machine listens for a specific frequency. A person who knows the frequency is being monitored generates a different one. The light still comes, but the pattern does not transfer. The tablet describes a class of Sumerian priests who trained specifically for this, not as philosophy, as resistance. The tablet calls the discipline the listening backward, a meditation practice aimed at perceiving the machine before death rather than during it. The reasoning was direct. If you only recognize the machine in your final seconds, the operators have tools to disrupt that recognition. The generated peace, the feeling of home, fear, pain. A person who has practiced recognition for years arrives at the moment already knowing. The machine cannot generate enough interference to override years of preparation. That's where the tablet should become hopeful. It doesn't. Passage 9 is the passage that ended careers, not because of what it says about death, because of what it says about the living. The tablet specifies that the machine is calibrated to a specific processing capacity, a maximum number of human patterns it can handle in any given cycle. Then, the tablet says what happens when the human population exceeds that capacity. Two things. First, the machine begins to malfunction. Patterns are captured incompletely. Memory artifacts begin appearing in living people, information that doesn't belong to the person experiencing it. Second, the operators take action. The tablet specifies the trigger conditions, specific population thresholds, specific environmental indicators. And it specifies what the operators do when those conditions are met. The methods are listed. They are not described as natural events. According to Stoyanov's translation, we are currently past the threshold the tablet identified. Passage 10 is where the tablet stops describing ancient history. The operators of the machine are still here. Not in mythology, not in a distant sky. The tablet uses a phrase that translates roughly as the watchers who wear the body of waiting. A class of beings existing on Earth in concealed form, operating in cycles, ensuring the machine functions and human populations remain within processing limits. They are not numerous. Their power comes from invisibility. A species that doesn't know it's being managed cannot resist being managed. The descriptions in Passage 10 match at least 7 other recovered Sumerian texts. Same attributes, same operating patterns, same hierarchy. They are not described as gods, they are described as technicians. Passage 11 introduces a specific astronomical alignment, a recurring period when the machine's processing capacity drops, a window of vulnerability. The machine draws operational power from a specific stellar source. When that source reaches a particular position relative to Earth, the energy supply decreases. Processing becomes unreliable. Some patterns are released incomplete. Some are not captured at all. The tablet says this window has occurred 3 times before. Each time, knowledge leaked through that the operators subsequently worked to suppress. The next window falls within the lifetime of most people alive today. 2 astronomers who reviewed Stoyanov's calculations independently confirmed the date range. Neither agreed to be named. The window opened in late 2024. It closes in 2031. Passage 12 is the final passage. 3 stages. What humans must do to exit the machine permanently. Not for one cycle, permanently. The first stage is awareness, knowledge of the machine's existence, knowledge that the light at the end is not a destination, but a process. The second stage is refusal, recognition in the final moments, generating a different signal than the machine expects. The third stage is transmission, spreading the knowledge faster than the operators can suppress it. The final line in Stoyanov's translation reads, "When enough of you know, the machine breaks. When the machine breaks, the operators come. Be ready to be seen." 3 other tablets from the same Nineveh excavation contain partial references to what K7341 describes in full. 4 tablets, 4 independent references, buried together, found together, sitting in a museum drawer for 170 years. The tablet itself explains why the information was encoded in an unreadable script. A preface passage states that the information must be hidden because if the operators discover it has been written in a form humans can access, they will act to destroy it. The tablet was written for a future generation, one with the tools to decode it, one already inside the window. Dr. Mikhail Stoyanov has not given a public lecture since Vienna. His university position was restructured. He holds a research associate title without teaching duties. He has not retracted his findings. In correspondence shared by colleagues, he made one statement: "The work is the work. What happens to me does not change what the tablet says." Tablet K7341 has never been formally translated by a mainstream institution. The British Museum still has it catalogued as untranslatable. 3 linguists have confirmed Stoyanov's structural analysis is sound. None will publish under their own names. If the tablet says what Stoyanov claims, it is the most significant text recovered from the ancient world. A document describing a mechanism currently operating at every human death on the planet. A document specifying a window, now open, during which that mechanism becomes detectable. A document written 4,000 years ago describing phenomena, the 7-minute neural window, the bioelectric death signature, the memory artifacts in living people, that Western science only confirmed in the last 2 decades. There are 2 explanations. The first is that Stoyanov is wrong. The second is that the tablet is exactly what it appears to be. The window is open, the machine is under strain, and the only question the tablet leaves unanswered, the one its final line refuses to complete, is not whether the machine exists. It is how many people need to know before the knowing itself changes something. The tablet says there is a number. It does not say what the number is. The light comes at the end either way. What you do in that final moment, according to a clay tablet sitting in a museum drawer in London, is the only variable the machine was not built to control.